Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 9, Episode 53. That's Dave Bryan. I am Alex Kozora. A happy Monday to your Steelers Nation. Wish we could bring better news. David, it felt like they weren't playing the Denver Broncos yesterday. It felt like they were playing Murphy and Murphy's Law, and everything that could go wrong went wrong, and Steelers wind up with a 24-17 loss.
I don't know who that Murphy fella is, but I know they probably should have packed more feet for the trip to Denver. Look, I mean, we've it's a movie we've seen several times over the years. Just the names and the nameless gray faces, other than Roethlisberger, might change a little bit, and there might be a few alternate endings involved in these things. But just long and short of it is you cannot turn the football over that many times, and especially if you're not getting turnovers on the other end, which is something a Steelers defense hasn't done for eons now, and expect to win. I mean, you got away with it technically against Cleveland early in the year. You've had a couple other games where you've turned the ball over too much, and then, of course, against the Jaguars last week, you were able to overcome the miscues, the turnovers in that game. You went to the well one too many times, and you can't do that. You turn the football over 4 times against Denver, and I always like to track that TOX stat, Alex, which is the differential of explosive plays and turnovers in a single game. The Steelers were -4. In this game. Of course, each team had 3 explosive plays, and then, of course, the Steelers had the 4 turnovers, so that they were -4. 2 of those turnovers were, of course, fumbles, one by Xavier Grimble, one by James Conner, and those came on the tail end of what would have been, wait for it, explosive plays. So a little bit of irony there as far as that goes. But, yeah, I mean, they moved over 500 yards in net offense, seemed to move the ball pretty much at will, but you turn the ball over and you're going to lose.
That's exactly what happened. I mean, you had the 4 turnovers plus the blocked field goal, which doesn't even count in that turnover category.
That's a good point. And really, if you want to count up, and I did last night on Twitter, if you want to count out PUTOs, if you will, points off of turnovers, if you want to count the field goal, the blocked field goal as a turnover, which I think you should. I mean, it's a sudden change of possession. Technically it's not counted as a turnover. But they had 17 of their 24 points then came off of turnovers.
This is not that there's ever a good loss, because it's certainly not, and this one's frustrating, and it should be. But does it give you any comfort that the Steelers did a lot of good things offensively, even defensively too? I think people don't give enough credit in some respect to what the Steelers defense did for the first half, at least yesterday. The Steelers should have won that game, and it's not the worst loss in the world. Do you kind of get that vibe, or do you feel more frustrated because how easily this team should have won it?
Nah, I think we're going to have a hard time selling these listeners motivation.
But the offense did move the football really well. It wasn't like Baltimore week 4 where just nothing worked. Stuff worked, they just couldn't finish.
I think one of the most frustrating things. Look, they should be able to move the ball. Mm-hmm. They should be expected to move the football. One of the things too that gets so frustrating when you dig deeper into this season, and really, it sounds like a broken record, from this season and previous seasons, starting field position. I mean, and because they don't create turnovers, because they don't get a lot of 3 and outs defensively, when teams are backed up in their own area, they don't get great starting field position. So it's a lot. They're having to put up a lot of yards, because they have a lot of long fields to have to navigate on top of it. But I don't take any comfort in the fact that, well, they put up 500 points and they moved the football at ease. If only they wouldn't turn the turn the football over 4 times. It feels like saying, other than that, how did you enjoy the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
No, I know. I mean, not talking about just this loss.
I get where you're going, but I mean, key, in key situations, situational football, as they like to say, they weren't great in that game, right?
Right. No, I mean, it was a frustrating loss. I mean, I'm as frustrated as anybody. I just thought there were some positive things, and there wasn't, and it's a game that could have easily been won, and I thought the mistakes made were largely correctable. Like, James Conner's not going to fumble all the time. Xavier Grimble's not going to fumble all the time at the goal line, maybe because he might not ever get the ball again. But, those fluke things, no tackle picking you off. I mean, that stuff I don't expect to happen routinely. But it is frustrating, and the bottom line is his offense is turning the football over too much, and the defense is not forcing near enough turnovers. And now they're -7 in turnover ratio. That's 26th in the NFL. That's a bad place to be.
That is, and that's probably the lowest of all the teams in the playoff picture right now. I would imagine.
You don't want to see the teams around them. It's the Jets, Cardinals, Detroit, Buffalo, Oakland. Those are bad company to be in.
I wonder how many. I need to look at how many points off of turnovers the Steelers have so far this season, and then how many of those? Obviously, they had the good game in Tampa where they had four turnovers?
4 in one quarter.
And of course a pick 6 in that, and then how many pick 6s have they had or blocks? In other words, where the offense didn't have to take the field. Didn't they have a blocked something another too?
They had the forced fumble against Matt Ryan. That was a touchdown.
Okay, that's right.
To Chick-fil-A.
And then that's it. So three sudden change, or returns, I guess they've had.
Defensive touchdowns, yeah.
Or defensive touchdowns. All right, I'm looking at it now. The Steelers -7. If it's any consolation, Baltimore is still in the playoff picture right now. They're at -6. You would think they would have a better plus minus than that, wouldn't you? As good as that defense is. Tennessee, who is not in the playoff picture, Green Bay's not. I'm trying to find out. Philadelphia.
You got to search between the couch cushions for a team that's successful. -5 wars.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not there. And let's look back real quick at the end of the regular season last year and see how many teams were negative. Did Dallas make the playoffs last year?
Now you're making me think too much on Monday.
I know Atlanta did. They were -2, right? Green Bay -3. I mean, it just doesn't bode well for you. But here's one thing I forgot I was going to hit you with right out of the chute here, but I went down the rabbit hole. If, and this is, I guess this is teasing or trolling listeners at this point. If the Steelers had scored on that final drive, do you go for 2, or does Tomlin go for 2 to win it?
Tomlin could definitely go for 2. I have no idea what his mindset was. I probably wouldn't have, because I felt like you've put in so many 2-point conversion plays and short yardage plays. The Broncos are already figured out that shovel pass. Fichtner is insistent on running. I probably don't think I have a play I love enough to run there, but Tomlin may have gone for it.
Why wouldn't you go? In today's NFL, why wouldn't you go for it? I mean, it's 2 yards, it's one play. You trust your offense. I mean, I get why people say just kick it and go to overtime and this, that, and the other. But you're opening up to letting the other team win it with one play too. I guess that is what I'm getting at. And I was already thinking in my head. I was thinking, I'll be damned. They're gonna score here, and then I wonder what Tomlin's gonna do here. Well, obviously didn't get that far, but I think I would have been okay if he would have went for 2. But we'll never know the answer to that now. Now I hate to start at the end of the game here as we walk through it, but it's going to be the biggest, one of the bigger talking points I think today. What did you think about the final sequence after I guess it would have been after the 2-minute warning there? 1st and goal at the 3-yard line inside 2 minutes. Roethlisberger throws the fade, the corner fade to Juju Smith-Schuster. That's not a high percentage play, right?
Right.
Second play, 2nd and 3. Connor left tackle to the 1. I mean, I'm okay with trying to run it there. I think I would have been more apt to try it right up the middle, you know.
Yeah, but they have run that power really well this year, so I get the idea. I can live with it.
Right, and I think I even wrote on Twitter, the Broncos were heading into that game were one of the had allowed something like the league worst 6-point-something yards per carry on runs to their right, which would be the Steelers' left. So I get it. I'm okay with that 2nd and 3 play, even though it didn't score. Third and 2. Well, first let's back up even a little bit more there. Well, no, that wasn't on that drive, but the 3rd and 2 run pass option in that situation. As soon as that ball was snapped a little wide of Roethlisberger, I had a little twinge in my stomach.
Right. I mean, you couldn't sell the play fake because the play fake didn't happen because everything got kind of messed up.
They almost ran. I mean, they almost were on top of each other at that point.
Right. And then Ben tries to throw it, and Shelby Harris, defensive lineman, picks it off. And even if he doesn't get it, I think Bradley Roby covering, he's probably going to pick it off. He's going to undercut that route. I didn't like that play call. I know that's being a little results-based oriented, but I didn't like the play call.
And Shelby Harris even admitted after the game he wasn't even sure what to do on the play. And then the Steelers said they blocked him too good, that Pouncey blocked him too good. I mean, just one of those things. But like you said, even if he doesn't drop and is magically there, I don't see how that ball gets to AB.
At best, it's a breakup, and then you're facing 4th and goal.
Right, and I think that's asking for, because I think whoever that was crossing in front of AB. I think that's a pick. I mean, I don't know what should have been done. Just try to take off with a football up the middle at that point. I mean,
maybe just throw it out of the end zone and live for 4th down. But Dave, let's circle back real quick to the injury report. Don't think there was anything too notable. A lot of the guys that came back in, Tomlin said, but what do we have there?
Yeah, we have T.J. Watt left, in the second quarter after I think he was trying to punch the football out and hurt a wrist. He left momentarily, went to the locker room. He returned back to the game. You had, let's see, Bud Dupree, or I think after that it was Vance McDonald that left. Man, as soon as it came across Twitter, Vance McDonald hip questionable. I thought, oh, no. But he luckily returned to the game. And then Bud Dupree, seemingly some sort of shoulder issue, left for a little while. But I think he came back to play some plays in the 4th quarter as well. The 2 players that missed the game with injury, of course, Marcus Gilbert with a knee, Stephon Tuitt with an elbow. I would have bet you a good amount of money that he wouldn't have missed 2 games initially looking at that injury way back against the Carolina Panthers. But here we are, 2 missed games now, and even after a kind of a long week because that injury happened on a Thursday night game against the Panthers. We'll see. We'll see about both of them. There's no way I'm even going to try to predict that. Now, Matt Filer ended the week listed as questionable with that pectoral. He ended up dressing, but he ended up not starting as Chukwuma Okorafor. Ooh, I got it.
You got it. Wow. Let's stop the podcast. We're stopping. It's a highlight. We're done. Cut.
Boy, you know what? Listen to Romo and Jim Nantz have to do it. I felt a little bit. My self-esteem got a little boost hearing those two. Of course, they don't have to say it as often as I have to. But Chooks got the start at right tackle. We'll talk a little bit about how he played there. But once again, on the surface, this team, it seems to be very, very lucky health-wise. Now, obviously, we'll see what Mike Tomlin has to say on Tuesday, see if we get any surprises. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if Watt, Bud Dupree, or Vance McDonald, as Mike Tomlin says, limited at the start of the week, and let their practice participation be our guide, if you will. But that seems to be the quick and dirty injury roundup.
They are, relatively healthy compared to the rest of the league, but man, they have missed the fun to it the last 2 weeks. And Hargrave's played really well, and he's having a couple of the best games of his career. But it's just in terms of run defense and the overall depth, to see healthy Walton out there, it hurt my soul, Dave.
And that one, what really hurt your soul was that one run to the left. Mm-hmm. Was that in the second half?
Yep.
Where Chicolo easily gets squared out, and look, I know his job is to set the edge there, protect the edge, and technically he did that. It just looked like he got moved out a little bit too far there, and then Walton just couldn't get off the block there inside by, I think it was the right guard, and I couldn't tell on the TV how the field went after that, but a big chunk of yardage. Maybe we'll get a little light shed once the all-22 comes out there, but yeah, I mean, and LT Walton's not a guy that's going to do anything for you as a pass rusher. If anything, his run defense is the better part of his game. They did miss, and you're right. Javon Hargrave now, at least on the initial TV view, now has had 2 really outstanding games in a row.
And I'd even say 3 going back to the Carolina game for what he did as a run defender. But yeah, it's not a coincidence that Jacksonville and Denver's had a ton of success on the ground in the 2 games. 2 it has missed. Do you want to start?
Here's the thing about that too. They played. We can't let the defense completely off the hook. In this game, sure, because they did give up some explosive plays. There's one play I really want to talk about here in a little bit. They gave up 3 explosive plays in total, 2 passes, 1 run. Phillip Lindsay became the first single running back this year to gain more than 100 yards in a game against the Steelers, and he did so on how many carries did he have?
14.
Yeah, 14. The thing is, you give up a 30-something yard run, and I forgot how many. I think it was like 7. Only 7 of his runs were technically successful, if you will, but he got chunks on those runs, and I think a couple of those nice runs came on like 2nd and long situations, like either 2nd and 8 and 2nd and 10, and you instantly let a team that's behind the chains get ahead of the chains or get a new set of downs. When you do something like that. So it was bad time in the second half in general. I think the Broncos ran the ball, I don't know, what was it, 13 or 14 times, or 12 times, and I think 8 or 9 of those runs were successful runs, whereas the week before in Jacksonville, they really shut down the run in the second half. You had all those 3 and outs and all. Hey, I got news for you, and I posted this on Twitter during the game. This isn't the Jaguars' offense that the Steelers were playing on Sunday. It was a much more competent offense. And while Case Keenum didn't put up brilliant numbers, especially from a completions, yardage standpoint, I thought he played a very effective and well played game. There were several times where he was picking up where the blitz was coming from and changed the protection and things like that. So you look at that 15 for 28 for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you think, that not that big a deal. But really, when you look how he was able to slide in the pocket and everything that he did during the game, I thought he played very well.
And when you have that run game and when the other teams turn the football over 4 times, that's really all you need. It was a reversal of last week where the first half against Jacksonville, defensively was a little rough. Second half, put the clamps on. First half, right? And the reason why I said the defense, played okay was only one of the Broncos' first 5 drives resulted in points. It was a field goal. So you started off really well, and then Denver either adjusted or just started executing better in the second half. Offensive turnovers, too, really after that Ben interception, the first one, and they started to march down the field. So, yeah, it was a reversal of last week. But the defense started on a good note, so if there's any positive there, I do look at that. But let's start with the beginning of the game, Dave. Just start going through this thing. Let's see, Steelers get the ball here Denver gets the ball to start to go, but 3 and out. So Steelers get the ball back. They go on their nice drive. You get AB nearly hitting Jalen Samuels on a touchdown pass. It would have been a touchdown. That had been a good completion. Did you like that call, Dave, of AB doing a little trickery?
It's hard with a couple of these plays in this game. It's hard not to be results biased.
Yeah, so it's what the game feels like.
I mean, it really is hard on a few of these not to be results biased. I mean, it's not, to me, it was there, but I mean, if you go back and at least on the TV angle, if you watch the replay, he had to get rid of that football in a hurry because he got his legs taken out, so he does have to get rid of that thing. Why are you even going through to a trick play in that situation? Is kind of my thing. But, I mean, you're moving the football at that point. Why not just keep doing what's working? But, obviously the ball too far went out of bounds, and, onward you go. It was, second and 10.
Yeah, so I guess you're running on first down. You got 2 downs to get it in. I get the idea. I was okay with it. I was surprised by it, for sure. Like, I didn't, there's not typically a tricky, Ken Wisnut kind of dude. But something, I guess, about, just that moment, wanted to make that call. So I was cool with that. But anyway, so you get a 4th and 10, and Chris Boswell comes out for a 48-yarder, blocked, and that kind of starts the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you had highlighted that ahead of the game, too, about how Justin Simmons, he'd already had, 3?
The team had 3. He had 1 doing the same thing, leaping over the long snapper this year against Baltimore.
Right. And I know a lot of people are upset about, well, is that legal or what? The thing that I hated the most about it is it looked like the guy next to him held Kennedy's head down.
Did it? I didn't even notice.
Yeah,
that.
go back and watch that, and it looks like kind of a kind of a trolling move, if you will. It looks like he holds Kennedy's neck down so he can't rise up, out of the position there. But do you like? I mean, were you okay with that legality wise? I mean, obviously on the TV they said the rules official, said it was legal and all. Are you okay with the player being able to leap over like that in that situation?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I mean, if you have a guy talented enough to leap over an entire line like that, and Simmons does, like I said on Friday's podcast, a 40-inch vertical coming out of Boston College, yeah, you can do it. I mean, it's so hard. If you make any contact, you'll get calls for it because you'll be considered launching yourself. But you clear him, and he did. Hey, have a party. You earn that block.
All right, so obviously they get the field goal block there, the sudden change situation there, and then the Broncos start moving the football well, and it starts with I think the Emmanuel Sanders one. Was that the one where Keenan was able to escape the pocket a little bit to the right, or no?
I don't remember clearly, but I think that was it for a 13-yard gain on 2nd and 10.
Of course, the connection with Hireman down the right-hand side. Bostic didn't look like he knew what he wanted to do. It looked like maybe he thought Hireman was going to come out and initially block, and then, of course, I think there was a running back leaking out to that side. The confusion as to maybe who was going to go. I know they had another defender on that side going with them, but Bostic inexplicably is moving forward, and Hireman's kind of wheeling it out, if you will, and Bostic loses him down the sideline, and it's an easy pitch and catch, and it even sounds like someone on the Broncos sideline says touchdown. In that situation there. So, a big explosive play given up right there to start with.
It was, yeah. I mean, Bostic, if he's even reading that perfectly, it'll be tough. But certainly him being a little late to reacting to the wheel, he's got no shot. So, but the Steelers hold him to a field goal. So, there was a good penalty. There was a penalty on McGovern, the Broncos' right guard, I think, that drew pushed him back. So, Steelers get the ball back. They're driving. They're doing their thing again. You're thinking, okay, blocked field goal on the first time. Unlucky. What are you gonna do? We'll get it here. And 3rd and 1, great play action play. Xavier Grimble all alone. No one's even within 15 yards of him. Running to the goal line. I when he got to the 5, I literally said touchdown. I was prematurely celebrating. And he dives to the end zone. Will Parks, a safety for Denver, meets him.
There wasn't no diving going on.
Okay, yeah. Whatever you want to call it.
It was a car crash.
Yeah, flopping at the goal line, fumble, ball out of bounds. Just do anything else, Grimble. I don't care if you don't score there. Like, that's fine. You get down the 1 yard line, but you got to have ball security there. And he's Grimble. He's a big guy. I mean, he is rocked up. And Parks is a physical player. I like Will Parks, but you just can't let that happen, man.
That was. I'm with you. As soon as that was completed, You see him get the first 10 yards and the camera widen out a little bit. You're thinking, man, that's an easy score there. And even initially when it happened, I thought he was in. And even when they showed the first pylon view before they went to commercial, I was kind of, of course, I'm trying to type on Twitter at the same time, and that's, me rubbing my patting my head and rubbing my tummy at the same time can be an ordeal. But initially I thought he was in. The camera angles, show that he did fumble that. It was a hell of a hit by Parks. I mean, you credit where credit's due, and Grimble, I think, said after the game, I thought I could run him over. And look, when you're number 3 tight end and you don't get many snaps during the game and you don't get many opportunities to touch the football in a game, you damn sure better make the best of those opportunities. And unfortunately, he didn't, and it ended up being a huge early turning point in the game for sure.
Right, just cut that back. Just I don't know, man. I just frustrating. I feel so many of these plays, I just kind of throw your hands up because there isn't anything to break down schematically or evaluation wise. It's just guys not finishing plays, guys not taking care of the football, guys not making good decisions, and so the Steelers had to work up a lot of effort to put some points on the board this first half, and that was just super frustrating.
Yeah, and luckily you get a sudden change again, or for them, and they were able to at least the defense hold after Denver had driven out to the 42 there. I'm trying to think if anything sticks out to me on that next drive there. There was the pass to Sutton for 14 yards, Sanders for 11, but nothing that really bothers you at that point. Waldman punts, fair catch by Switzer, and then back the Steelers come again, moving the football. And only this time, let's see, what was the big play in this one? They had a 2nd and 17, and then they converted a third, or they tried to convert a 3rd and 11. And I don't know about you, they had a couple of third down and long situations where they ran that slant to AB. And in other words, you're throwing short of the chains. And you know me, I'm just not a fan of quarterbacks throwing short of the chains on third down. It seemed like Ben did this quite a few times. I don't know if he saw the blitz coming on one of the two, and I don't remember if it was this one or the second one that was a 3rd and long, if you will, and he threw the slant to Roethlisberger. But unfortunately, that drive stalled, and it was helped along with Vance McDonald. It was helped along stalling with a Vance McDonald offensive pass interference after a catch to Switzer, which I really kind of thought was a ticky-tack call.
Yeah, they run that play. They ran it multiple times after that this year, but it is a judgment call, and you have to really run your route, and if you kind of dip inside a little bit to create that rub, you can get called for it. Real quick, I don't mean to get super sidetracked here, Dave, but I think AB's been fine this year. The issues people have talked about generally overblown. One weird thing that's always kind of been in the back of my head this year, but that I just kind of I think about it a little bit more each week. It doesn't feel like he's breaking as many tackles this year, and I don't know if that's just a weird situational thing or just me putting the tinfoil hat on. Again, I think he's fine, but it feels like he's just not making as many guys miss this year as he has in the past.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers on that. I mean,
yeah, I know it's just speculation.
Yeah, I would have to look at the numbers on that.
Anyway, so Boswell, they don't convert on the 3rd and 11. Boswell hits a 41-yarder, ties it at 3. And like I said, at this point, I think Denver starts getting their first scoring drive, a touchdown drive together and hitting some big plays. Lacoste for 17, then a touchdown for 10. That's just the Lindsay run for 32, where Sean Davis kind of found out how fast Phillip Lindsay is. He had a decent angle, but Lindsay just erased it, outran it. And then just got some defensive breakdowns in coverage where you got Lacoste, the backup tight end, running wide open against zone coverage. Do you know what happened on the touchdown pass? Do you remember that play? It was the left curl. Edmonds expands wide on the running back in the flat. And I think Sensabaugh is supposed to have that spot, but there's just no one around him.
Well, and on the touchdown as well, first of all, let's back up here because there's a play that's bothering the living crap out of me.
Okay.
It's that 3rd and 5 at the Steelers 33. I mean, you got a perfect opportunity to get off here, and yeah, it's a bit of a makeable situation, but it's not like it's 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4. I mean, and in fact, it seemed like it might be kind of a long 3rd and 5, if you will. But they come out and they get into empty, and they line Booker up wide outside. They're running back Booker outside, and the Steelers play zone against it. And Booker just finds an easy spot to settle right there between Fort and I'm trying to remember who was on the other side at the time. But it was just if you're looking at the back of the defense, it was just left of Fort. And I mean, it's an easy pitch and catch, if you will. And and I understand, look, you play man in that situation, you become susceptible of having your back turned to Keenum and him scrambling and all like that. But I just think you got to do a better job in an empty situation, empty backfield situation at getting off the field in that situation. If you hold them in that situation, they're probably kicking, I don't know, let's say they got 4 yards on that and got to the 29. That'd been about a 46-yard field goal or something like that. At least you hold them to the field goal in that situation. But you give up that first down. Like I said, I don't know what it is. That play bothers me and has since the game ended. The next play, and you talk about who did you know who Lacoste was heading into this game?
Only because he caught one real long pass in the tape that I watched, but I really didn't recognize the name until my tape study.
Well, the first, and I made notes of this, the 17-yarder on the 1st and 10, right after they converted that 3rd and 5, was that fake screen to the
left.
Like
a little Haley play.
Right. It was something fresh out of Todd Haley's playbook, where they faked that, and it was a great fake, and bless Edmonds' heart. I mean, he didn't have a great game. But you see that, and you got to start coming forward on that.
Yeah, tough spot to be in.
And then, of course, he gets stressed, and the tight end comes off of the fake block, if you will, and then easy pitch and catch for what was it, 17. And on the next play, even after I think it was even Lacoste said it after the game, he was the 4th option on that play on the touchdown. And just said that Case Keenum did such a great job of going through from right to left with his reads. And once again, as you said, Edmonds really stressed in that situation.
Yeah, I thought Edmonds, it looked like he was okay because he's got to expand on the flat to the running back. It was something with sensible and just playing that spot drop zone coverage where the backup tight end has 5-yard halo around him and he walks in, and that's how he let the touchdown up. And that's that. Not giving up the touchdown would be frustrating enough, but how it happened, how easily Denver converted, that's even more frustrating.
Was it after that play that excuse me, we saw Sensabaugh and Watt having a discussion on the sideline?
I want to say that was in the second half.
Okay, I don't.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. It was somewhere around there, though.
All right. Well, regardless, they're in the end zone, and what does that say about them being able to answer a nice drive, a field goal drive by the Steelers with a 6-play, 75-yard touchdown? So good on them. The Steelers, of course, answered back, but not in a way you would kind of think they ultimately would. They nickeled and dimed it down the field there on their next drive inside the 2-minute warning. Switzer, who had a very, very nice game, and boy, he's become and we're going to talk about him, I have a feeling, in a little bit here. Nice pass to the middle for the 15 yards, and then another one to the deep middle for 24 yards, and I think that's one he took a heck of a pop.
Oh, yeah.
From Simmons in the middle of the field on that play, and I thought Tony Romo did a great job of setting that play up on TV there, where he said, they're trying to take away the outside. That was the only place, middle of the field where that ball has to go. I don't know, however, how many times you want Ryan Switzer taking a pop like that, 15 yards, 20 yards down the field.
He's been pretty beat up the last 2 weeks. Jacksonville was getting to him a good bit, and then Denver today. Now we can talk about Switzer later because I definitely want to talk about that as well.
Yeah, yes. And by the way, yes, I think his last 14 catches, right at 140 yards, so 10 yards per reception for him.
Right.
I mean, that's outstanding. Okay, we carry on into the end of this drive here, coming up. After the incomplete, you get what you want. You get Vance McDonald open in the middle of the field in the end zone, and it looked like he just took his eye and was maybe looking for the linebacker there for a split second, clanks right off of his hands in the end zone. So another demerit for another Steelers tight end in that situation. And then 3rd and 2, Alex, from the 2-yard line. Even Tony Romo knew what was coming in that situation there. It's something we've seen all too many times now. Even Joe Average Steeler fan, probably had a good idea what was coming. The good old shovel pass.
Yep, that goes for no gain. If I think Fiedner's done a nice job this year, situationally, this team has improved in a lot of aspects, but you just can't run that shovel pass. You just had it snuffed out this past week. How do you call it again?
You know what you need to do if you're going to run that kind of action, at least to set up being able to run it again, right. The actual shovel pass. You need to build on top of that. I mean, you need to build something off of that where it's not going to be the shovel and it's not going to be your quarterback sneaking or taking off to the right side. You need to try to build in some sort of I don't know, orbit motion behind with a flip. I don't know, but
just don't run it. Just don't run it. Just find something else.
Well, you get what I'm saying, though. If you want to be able to run that thing later on, let's say in the playoffs, because in these next 5 games, I hope we don't see it. But if you want to try to set up trying to use it, you need to run that kind of action with something off of it. But I'm with you. I don't care if I see it for a while long. So shame on them. 2 plays inside the red zone there, or goal-to-goal situation, and they fail. And the next play, you want to talk about being very results bias play, the fake field goal for the touchdown.
Yep, I'm going to admit it. I'm 100% results-based. Had it not worked, I would have been mad. Because it did work, I'm elated. And Boswell throws a pretty pass, doesn't he?
Yeah, and Alejandro Villanueva, he had his arm up. He was open.
Yeah. He went all AB like diva, like, hey, get me the ball.
Yeah, look, it was a great design. It was great, fantastic execution on that. If it doesn't work, you're taking 3 points off the board. On top of, you already know that you're getting the ball first immediately to start the second half, so you can double up there. It's a very results biased play. I mean, it has to be. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, shame on you. And I think it's that black and white in that situation. Would I have called it in that situation? I don't think so, but it did work out, and what was going with this? But regardless, it did work. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. His first touchdown.
Shame on you that you get yourself in that situation, though.
Right. That you have to use that play. Maybe you could have used that play at another point of the year. But Villanueva's first touchdown since 2009 when he was playing for Army against VMI. So it's a little bigger stage right now, but. Heck of a pass, heck of a play call. Like I said, I would have kicked the field goal. I wouldn't have had the guts to do it. So hats off to Tomlin and company for that. So
what were you thinking at that point at halftime, after all that had happened, all that had gone kind of wrong? Let's face it, they shot themselves in the foot, quite a bit up until that point. Obviously, it was just the one turnover and the one blocked field goal at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was feeling comfortable because this team had moved the ball effectively, maybe not efficiently because they couldn't finish, but they moved the football on offense. Defensively, they had gotten some stops. The defense, I thought, looked generally strong. A couple, hiccups here and there, but that's to be expected in a half of football against a decent team like Denver offensively. But yeah, I felt like you get the ball back, you could score here, put some distance. I felt comfortable.
All right, and they open up. I'm thinking, all right, they're going to be able to move this football down the field in the second half to open up the second half and jump on them here and really change the complexion of the game. Unfortunately, on 2nd and 10, during a James Conner runoff right tackle for 8 yards, James Washington shows up in a bad way on the tape for the first time when he has the illegal block above the waist, and it wasn't a flagrant block above the waist, if you will, but I mean it was there, and you wipe out a nice run by Connor in that situation, and at that point you're faced with a 2nd and 15. Switzer and then Brown. I think that was when the other 3rd and 9 pass to Brown happened. That might have been the one where I think Romo says, I think Ben felt the blitz coming there or something.
Yeah, that was it.
In that situation. And then, look, you had a penalty by a rookie, kill a drive for you, and you had to punt.
Right. We've seen those penalties early in drives, mostly in the first half, drive or two of the game that's hurt this team. How about the first play of that half, though? The double move to Juju, wide open. I think Ben just missed him. He dives out, and that's a touchdown. It's another play that you just couldn't finish.
Right. That's one of those taking another toe off the foot.
Yep. Yeah, I guess. Is that a Southern thing?
No, that's a Dave thing.
Okay, that makes me a little nervous.
7 toes, right?
I don't know where you're going with any of this. All I know is that should have been a touchdown, and Ben just threw it a little too far.
Yeah, it should have been. I mean, it was a great double move in that situation, and when that ball was in the air, I thought, that's 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Denver, they go 3 and out too. Morgan Burnett, a nice play on 3rd down to bat it away from Hireman, and then you get Juju on the big play. And all this guy does is catch 97-yard touchdowns, I guess, Dave.
That guy is incredible, and Pouncey is driven right back on his butt. Right. You want to talk?
Shelby Harris, the dude that had the pick at the end of the game.
Yeah, good point. Look, arm strength. I mean, look, Ben showed he still has it in that situation. I mean, and a lot of guts and to let that thing fly, too, in that situation, knowing what he had coverage wise and knowing that Juju would win inside in that situation there. And it was really mirror routes on both sides, I think. And it's pick a side. And he picked Juju's side because I think if you look, you see AB running an identical route on the opposite side there on that, and a lot of 60-something yards of yak on that play. And not only did Juju make some nice moves, after catching the football in that situation, you got to take your hat off and hand it to Antonio Brown because he had a very nice block on Chris Harris that made sure that thing got the other, I don't know, what was it, 30 or 40 yards.
Definitely appreciate the effort. AB's had a couple nice blocks this year. There was, I think, a Connor touchdown one where he had a nice block. Well, maybe against Cleveland, I think it was. So hats off to AB for getting involved there. Certainly not his forte. But, yeah, it was cover one. You just get 2 vertical concepts. It was basically max protect, backed up in your own end zone. And Juju's ability to separate was awesome against a good corner in Roby. And then that finishing of that play. I know he ran 4.54 coming out, but when you put the pads on, this dude's no one can catch him. I love it.
Yeah, deceptive speed, and he's physical too. I mean, stiff arms that he gives. Once again, the only and I've said this for a couple weeks now. The only thing that's keeping him kind of from being, elite like, I think is he'll drop. His hands sometimes, now he did, and I think we missed this when we were covering some of the early, I don't think he got his head around quick enough on one of those early balls that bounced right off of his coconut there. I don't know if Ben maybe just had to get rid of that a little bit, a second early there. But I mean, look, the guy already, 1,000 yards this season?
Yeah, Matthew said that catch, 97-yard catch, would put him over 1,000 for the year. So now only one of 2 players in NFL history with 2 offensive touchdowns of 97-plus yards. Gaynell Tinsley in 1937, 1938, the others. So some
who was it?
Gaynell Tinsley, I think for the Lions maybe, in 37, 38. So a guy no one's ever heard of. Juju now. Basically, Juju first one to do it in the modern era.
All right, so what are you thinking up 17-10 now? You thinking, yeah, they got this now, right? I mean...
Right, same thing. Offense, moving the football, getting explosive plays. I was fine with how much they were throwing the football because it was so effective. The Broncos just could not cover. anybody, and even the incompletions, like the double move to Juju, was just off of the Steelers' own errors, not anything Denver did. So I felt like you have a lead. Maybe at some point Denver's going to have to start throwing the football more. You're sitting in an okay spot, and you get a 3-and-out on the next drive too.
Yeah, and then unfortunately you had to hold your breath during that because Ryan Switzer muffed the punt at that point. I don't know how he got that thing back. But he did. As soon as that ball was loose, I thought, oh Lord. But they recovered from that even, and then then they start running the football a little bit. Left end for Connor for 11, up the middle for 4, out to the left again 8. And you're thinking, okay, they're starting to run this power a little bit, starting to get the traction back with the run game. Then you have a short right pass to Antonio Brown for 8 yards. And then you have been trying to hit AB on a underneath crosser there. He claims that he was held, or Ben claims that AB was held. I don't know what you saw. I know we only have the original play to go off of because I don't think in the replay they show. I think AB's out of frame by the time the football's in the air. I don't see it being egregious on the TV being held. It just, to me, it looks, and look, he might have got slowed down. We'll have to see what if the end zone view shows us anything on that. To me, it just looks like a high pass by Roethlisberger.
I thought AB got pulled a little bit on the left side, but you're not going to be guaranteed a call there because it's subtle. There's a lot going on. They're running that mesh concept where AB's running over the tight end. I think it was Vance on that play. And, it took a while to develop. It wasn't clean. Denver, played it off well. And you can't complain about that stuff. And I felt like multiple times during this game, receivers were just kind of stopping on routes, looking for the flag and not finishing the play. It didn't come. And, I just thought you left some plays on the table because guys were standing around looking for flags.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, that one's...
But this changed the game. This was the turning point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I mean, it was definitely one of the turning points for sure. Case Keenum, and then and look, Emmanuel Sanders probably should have had at least one other. I don't know if it was earlier in the game when he blew past who was it, Hayden, and it was one of those just out of reach balls that they failed to connect on. But on this one, I think Sanders blew right back past Hayden again. What did you see on that play, that 38 yards down to the 5? And I know a lot of people are saying, and I think this is the one that people are saying that should have been challenged or whatnot, but Tomlin has told us they don't get to see the replay of that right away, although they probably did, being as how this is a national game. And then, in other words, I think Tomlin had time to challenge it, but I don't think he would have won the challenge because who was the rules official for this one?
Gene Steratore.
Yeah, Steratore. I think he was correct. I think that ball's in Sanders' breadbasket, and I think he takes 2 or 3 steps before going to the ground. But what did you see on the play in general?
Well, for that play, Hayden just got toasted. It was, to me, Hayden's worst game of his career. I don't know what happened. I know Hayden's not the fastest guy.
Worst game of his career.
Well, I don't know about what he did in Cleveland before. He's been hurt a lot. So he's probably had some bad games playing hurt. But I think his worst game in a Steelers uniform. And I know he's not the fastest dude anymore, but he still got speed, and he got toasted repeatedly by Manny Sanders. And that's all it was just getting whooped. There wasn't anything, no double move, nothing special, didn't slip. It was just getting beat. So, but yeah, I'm glad Tomlin didn't challenge it. You just used a timeout before the interception. So if you lose that one, you're down to, I think, would have been 1 timeout at the time. And Steelers had to burn too many timeouts in this game playing on the road, having a miscommunication and some crowd noise issues. So, but yeah, weird game from Hayden, a bad game from him. When he's having a bad game, you got some problems.
And on the very next play, you give Case Keenum a little bit of time like that. They found Emmanuel Sanders crossing back in the back of the end zone there, and
that's where he leaked out. He snuck out to the right flat, spun around, and nobody was covering him.
Right, touchdown there, and you're tied at 17 there. Steelers get the ball back, and this is we're gonna have to get into attack mode here a little bit here. For 2nd and 8 situation, 4:40 left. The Steelers go deep down the right-hand side to James Washington, wide open in this situation. I think I said, was it on the Friday podcast? I said a watershed moment,
Yep.
For James Washington. If he can make a big play in this game, maybe it can turn his dismal rookie season around. When that ball was in the air, it seemed like 5 minutes went by. I was rehashing. Oh, what did I say on the podcast? All these things. I'm ready to pound my chest, thinking about what I'm going to say on the Monday podcast. Just so much happening. You're thinking, okay, this is it. This is that watershed moment. I don't know why he thought he had to die. A, I don't know why he thought he had to die for that football. And B, even though he did, you gotta hold on to that thing. And crushing drop at that point. You want to talk about another young player, a rookie, that even though he's getting a lot of, he has been getting a lot of snaps as of late. He doesn't get many targets in a game. You have to take advantage of the opportunities when your number's called, and he has just continually failed to do so. And even if you want to go back further into an early incompletion his way, the one that I think Roby broke up on an out route to the right-hand side, it looked like he I don't go back and look at this. I know you probably hadn't focused on this. It looked like he rounded that thing off a little bit, and it's probably a little bit lucky that thing wasn't picked off in that situation there. But man, you want to talk about a one play where maybe this kid's season can get turned around. This is it, and I hate to use the term "drop the ball," but that's exactly what he did.
No, well said. And it was a great route too. That double move to beat the corner. It should have been a big play. I mean, I didn't love the ball placement from Ben. I thought it made it a little bit more difficult than it needed to be.
But just run through it.
No, I know. Yeah, he's got to make that play. I'm not making an excuse. He's got to make that play. Even if he dives, okay, I can live with that part, but you got to finish it and make the catch. And he didn't, and it's been a tough season for Washington. They've tried to run those speed outs. Now, I'm okay with him rounding some of those routes because some of those are speed routes, and that's what you're supposed to do. But the timing hasn't been there. It's been a little funky, and he was brought in to be this vertical threat, and that was a prime opportunity, and it didn't happen. But not to get too off the rails, it's obviously going to be a rough rookie year for James Washington. I'm not sure how much it's going to turn around at this point, but let's not write the guy off. People saying he's Limas sweet.
No, he's not Limas, but look, I thought he would have a 30-catch rookie season.
Sure, me too. I think I said the same. And it's a disappointing year. It's been a bad year for James Washington. And after a really good camp, and I was hyping him up, and clearly I was wrong about that. But people just
he had a good preseason too.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this kid can catch. You don't catch the 200 whatever balls that he did in college, and the explosive plays and the touchdowns and the catch rate that he had. This kid isn't Limas Swede, right. But I mean, where his confidence might be around where Limas Swede was about right now, and Ben Roethlisberger probably has about the same amount of confidence that he had in Limas Swede, about right now. But this you want to talk about a huge, not that there wasn't already a turning point in his rookie season. It is right now a huge, how he handles this and how he's able to finish out these final 5 games and hopefully, playoffs, yada yada. He needs to get himself past this. Unfortunately, now you think Roethlisberger didn't have much trust in him ahead of this game. They're going to have even less now, and I understand that Justin Hunter is not much of an upgrade over him, but right now at this point, do you even consider sitting James Washington down for at least one more game moving forward? I mean, obviously, I don't think you should bench Washington for the final, 5 regular season games, but this next one against the Chargers, I mean, do you sit him down this next one?
I consider it. I think it's all based off of practice and how guys look there. If Washington feels like he can't shake this one and he's struggling, then yeah, you might make a change. I don't think the issue is Ben not having trust in him. Obviously, there's, he hasn't made the plays to develop the trust and chemistry that, Ben has with, say, Juju. But if you're open, Ben's going to throw it to you. And that's something I think Ben's always been consistent and good about. Is that, we're going to come back to you. We're not going to shy away from guys. I think the bigger issue for Washington is that he's going to have to make those plays on what I'm going to assume is reduced snap count. Because at this point, you have your three receivers. You got AB, Juju, who's winning on the outside, which is huge for his development, and Switzer in the slot. And so now you're saying, where does Washington fit in that? And to me, I think Washington becomes basically your number 4 guy now, and Switzer takes on that starting role. If it was me, and I hope it goes that way.
And Michael Florio, and not the Michael Florio from Pro Football Talk, but the fantasy football researcher for the NFL Network, already saved our very own Matthew Marksey a little bit of time. And if I just had to tweet up here just a moment ago, I retweeted this last night, and it talks about. Do you see where my retweet is about the Michael Florio and about the
No,
slot?
I didn't even know what you said. I can look it up.
Give me a moment, folks. I just had it in front of me here about the amount of snaps that. Okay, here it is. Ryan Switzer ran 34 routes from the slot Sunday against the Broncos. He saw 8 targets on those, catching 6 for 67 yards. And didn't all how many catches?
That was all of his yards.
Yeah, that was all of his catches and all of his yards, right?
Yep.
So 34 routes from the slot, 8 targets on those, and 6 for 67, which was all of his production. And Florio goes on to say, worth monitoring going forward is Juju ran just 10 routes from the slot. And not only was that a season low for Juju from routes from the slot, it was also the first time he hasn't led the Steelers in slot routes. So maybe you're onto something there.
And I tweeted that before the game too, was that, because of what happened on those last 2 drives against Jacksonville where they kicked Juju out from the slot, because he's been in the slot almost exclusively this year, because he's done a great job. There's a lot of trust. He's a third down guy for Ben, but he kicked out to the outside and had those 2 catches against Ramsey and Boye, and that felt like the start of something. He had this touchdown, 97 yards against Denver, some other big plays. He's now creating enough separation on the outside that I'm comfortable using him there, and I'm comfortable with taking him out of the slot because of the job Switzer's done. So those are your 3 guys. AB as the X, Juju as the Z, Switzer in the slot. You can mix and match AB and Juju and still get some slot matchups for those guys as well, and maybe develop Switzer on the outside, do some bunch stuff or things like that. But for right now, you got to roll with the guys that are producing, and unfortunately that's not James Washington, and it's not going to be Justin Hunter either.
What's the drawback to doing that?
Well, Juju's been excellent in the slot. You create some mismatches there. He's a better slot receiver to me than Switzer because he's a bigger guy. He's a bigger run-after-catch threat, better blocker, so that helps you in the run game to some extent. You become a little less versatile because Switzer really not an outside guy. You're not going to play him there maybe as the X in some situations and some slants. But so maybe limits you in some ways, but I think it's the best thing for this team right now.
All right, the Steelers failed to convert the 3rd and 8 after the Washington drop. Of course, had to punt after that. The defense did their job though. They got a 3 and out after that, and I think one of those may have been a drop by Sutton, but I'm not sure. I think the 3rd and 8. I'm not even sure he would have.
Yeah, they went through his hands. I don't know if he would have gotten there.
And we talked about the muff by Switzer there. They have they get the ball at the 37 and they start moving the football again.
Yeah, you get, I think Vance is out at this point. Jesse's catching a couple passes over the middle. The defense, like you said, done its job. The defense was getting some stops in this game. So it was like, okay, Steelers will do their thing. It'll finally click and then you're good. But then you get the false start on a core 4. You get a holding, which makes it 1st and 10. But Ben sacked by your guy, Shaq Barrett. 2nd and 16.
Oh, on that, by the way, and look, I mean, I'm not going to gloss it over and be an apologist for Villanova, but he lost his footing. His right foot slips right out from underneath him on the grass. Now, I thought Barrett got a good jump off the ball and was making some progress. I think with kind of a bull rush on that one, but once Villanova's right leg slipped on the grass, he was done at that point.
So you have a 2nd and 16. They throw this little screen pass to James Conner, left side. He's running free. Everything looks good. How does he lose that football?
He was running too free.
How does he lose that football? Ruby tackled his leg. Like, how do you lose the ball?
Yeah, it was almost kind of like a whipping motion.
Yeah.
The arm comes out in the football, and like you said, he was hit below the waist in that situation. There's kind of like a, I don't know, maybe he thought he was gonna last minute try to hurdle him or what, but yeah, the arm comes out and out comes the football, and he couldn't get back on it. Well, crushing because, like you said, like I said at the top of the show, they would have had two more explosive play, and believe it or not, both those 23 yards, Grimble and Connor, and both are fumbles in that situation there. And at worst in that situation, even if Connor's tackled there and you don't get another yard, you're probably going to get 3 points in that situation at a minimum there. So yeah, it really was another crushing turnover. And at that point, you're thinking, man, they are doing everything they can possible to lose this game, even though it was, I think, 17-all at the time.
Yep, it was. And then Denver, they started mixing in the run game. Lindsay for 9, Freeman for 5, Freeman for 4. Started hitting the pass game, a big 3rd and 5 completion to Deshaun Hamilton, who had barely done anything this year for them. Lindsay goes off left side for 18. Hireman for 15. I mean, it just starts mounting up, and Denver's able to punch it in to go up 24-17 with about 9 minutes to go.
Yeah, probably one of the most disappointing Steelers defensive series of the game there, because you let them go 79 yards and 11 plays, and a little bit on the ground. I talked about in the second half how they had something like 8 of 12 successful runs in that situation. So kind of a reversal, if you will, of what happened the week before in Jacksonville. And you had to know they're probably going to try to run the ball in that situation, right? I mean, it's not a panic situation for them tied at 17. They just want to make sure they don't make the big mistake down in their own end of the field, and they two different backs get the job done for them in that situation.
And that's where the depth, I think, really hurts you. I'll have to go back and look to see what the division of snaps were, but for some of those, it was Alulu and Walton as the nickel defensive lineman. Like Hayward had been subbed out to get some rest. Playing in Denver doesn't help. So that 18-yard run that Lindsay had to get him from the Steelers 47 to the Steelers 29, that's the one that came off left side between Chickalo and Walton, and that was kind of one of the big plays in that drive. So you get run on because you got your backup reserve defensive lineman in, and no surprise that was the result against the number one rushing team in football in Denver.
And you're talking about the dreaded points off of turnovers again. What a big swing there, even though it was not instantaneous 11 plays there. The Steelers come back out and they cannot answer. And was this the one where Antonio Brown was couldn't get the 1st and 10 from the 47, the deep one to the left that was incomplete? Was that the one that Antonio Brown couldn't get 2 feet in bounds on?
I think his right toe on the chalk. On that one.
I'm not sure if that was the one or not, but I mean, very rarely do you see AB not be able to properly navigate his feet. Now, the ball probably could have been placed a little bit better in that situation there, but definitely a play that you feel got away from you in that situation there. And they had to punt, and Broncos get the ball back one more time. They can't do anything. A huge sack on what was that? The Denver 15 for 7 yards by Hargrave and Hayward. Hargrave got over to the left of his guard on that play and kind of falling down, and Hayward got a good push on that play as well too. A very, very, very timely sack in that situation.
Right, those guys have been just they killed the interior line of Denver in pass and run, and those guys, that Hayward bull rush, that was awesome, and then Hargrave had another great day as well. So you get the punt, you knew at that point, there's a 4.5 left. Steelers had 1 timeout, ball in their 44. That's the final drive of the game. Either you're going to tie it up or you're going to lose that one because
it's their best starting field position of the day.
Was it? Well, yeah, it's good. It's good starting field position. So you knew this was it. 4-down territory. Last chance, and they get a drive going. Juju, again, making some big catches.
Yeah, he did. Ryan Switzer had a couple in there as well too, and then you get the pass to Juju down I think the short right side for 19 yards, another 5 to AB, and then Ben, nice job with the scramble. At first, when Ben took off for that scramble, I thought he had a chance to score maybe on that situation there. He obviously didn't, and then of course we already got into the final 3 plays there and the interception and all. So and I don't want this to sound positive because it's not in the end game here, but as bad as as many times as you shot yourself in the foot during this game, to still be one play away, a very very makeable situation from goal to goal situation there at the end, they still had a chance to win this thing. As bad as they played throughout the rest of the game, I don't know. No, that shouldn't be a positive because they still didn't make the play when they needed it most. But it came down to they left a lot of plays on the field, and Denver didn't turn the football over.
That's as well as I could have possibly summed it up, Dave. And that's why I tried to take some positives early when we started the podcast by saying, this is a team that can correct their mistakes, and it's a game that you could have won. And I don't feel as deflated by this loss. I mean, it sucks and it's frustrating, but I don't feel as bad about this loss as, say, the Baltimore, or even Cleveland week 1, the tie doesn't. I don't feel as bad about this one, but maybe that's just because Steelers are still sitting top of the AFC North. But just didn't finish. I mean, that's the theme of this game. You don't have to delve too far into the X's and O's. Team had opportunities. They just didn't capitalize.
All right, now you had Ben on the winners list. I would have had him on the mad list.
I don't know. You throw 56 times. He was the offense. He moved this team down the field. If guys finish their plays, if Connor doesn't fumble, if Grimble doesn't fumble out of the end zone, and those kind of things, this team's winning this game, and Ben's clearly going to be on the winners list. So I thought he was consistent and efficient in this one.
Let's can you name the incompletions?
9 of them, 13 of them.
15 of them. I said we're a little bit late.
Yeah.
Late in this one, but there were. I mean, you had obviously the drop by Washington. You had the drop by McDonald. You had one go in and out of the hands of Switzer. You had
2 to Juju, the double move, and the one off his coconut.
Right, 2 to Juju.
Plus,
you had one.
Two picks. Those are incompletions.
Okay, yeah, the 2 picks. I'm trying to think what the other one to Switzer was. You had one to go in and out of his hands. I'm drawing a blank where the other one was. The one to McDonald early in the game, kind of on the 3rd down, just out of reach. McDonald got one hand. Was McDonald held on that play?
I thought he was, but what are you going to do?
So 15 total incompletions. Not as good in the second half. Obviously, the 2 interceptions are going to stick out the most on that. Just not enough, I don't think, maybe to put him on the winners list. I assume you had a core 4 on the winners list, and make no mistake about it. And it's obvious even going through the TV tape, they schemed to give him help in this game quite a bit, but I thought he represented himself real well. All that aside, and he did have the penalty in the game, and I think on one of the Ben scrambles early in the game, he got beat. That caused a loud pressure there. Obviously, the sack by Miller later in the game, I don't want to make excuses for it, but Von Miller had a crazy great jump on that game. Whenever you get in a situation where you're passing anyway, and those guys can pin their ears back, and you are dealing with a guy like Von Miller, I mean, sooner or later, the Tiger's going to get you, or the Bear's going to get you, as they say. And he did in that situation. But I thought top to bottom, I thought a core 4 played a pretty damn good game in his first NFL start.
Agreed. And while it was obviously a very difficult matchup, I thought the one plus of having a core 4 instead of Filer was that I thought a core 4 is more physical, a better athlete, and kind of match Miller's speed moves and counters a little bit better than maybe Filer could. I thought he played well.
What do you think? I mean, did he play? We'll see. Filer should be over this pectoral, we would hope, by next week. I mean, assuming Gilbert doesn't play, who do you start?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think you go back to Filer. I think Filer did a nice job, but I wouldn't be mad either decision. I think just the fact that you can go 3 deep at right tackle and still play well is a testament to the evaluation and the coaching of Mike Munchak and Sean Surratt.
Do you think they schemed a little bit too much? I mean,
no,
obviously
you can't scheme
not
too much
right.
against Von Miller.
Right.
You can't scheme too much.
But he did do a good job on that. And look, Joey Bosa, right? Next.
and Melvin Ingram too, I think.
Oh, right? Lord have mercy. And the Steelers are favored by 3.5 early line on that one. Real quick, I thought about this last night. Who's the rookie MVP right now?
I
mean, is it Edmonds by default?
Okay, there you go. Yeah, Jinx.
And how? I mean, can you make if a Okorafor starts and plays well in the next, couple of games? I mean, Edmonds isn't hard to overtake, right?
I guess not, but I don't anticipate Okorafor going on that kind of tear. I mean, health might not even just allow him to. So unless he's going to be tackle eligible for the next 50 snaps in a row, I don't think anyone else is going to be in that camp. Matthew Thomas inactive yesterday. Well, that was a curious one.
Yeah, I found that kind of a bit surprising as well too. Brian Allen got the helmet instead of Matthew Thomas.
You stole my segue, Dave. You're talking about lines, and I was gonna segue perfectly into our MyBookie. Friends of MyBookie, and you took it from me. But you want to tell us about our friends of MyBookie?
Yeah, let's indeed talk a little bit about MyBookie here, folks. We've been talking about it for quite a while now. How you should be betting with Bet MyBookie. Oh, you caught me off guard there. I got to pull my script up here. I can't even.
I'm sorry.
Find it.
You said the line.
Here it is.
Favorite, and I was gonna throw you up one.
I got one. Sure, watching football is fun, but it's more entertaining when you have some action on the games. Guys and gals, you've heard me talking about this for weeks, and some of you are still on the sidelines. Whether you're an expert or rookie bettor, like Alex is, you should be betting at mybookie.ag. If you're the kind of guy or gal that likes to bet a little and win a lot, like playing the numbers on the roulette table, which, by the way, I just not good at, you can create a big parlay. Pick 3 teams if you want, and if you hit all 3 against the against the spread, you can turn $100 into $600. I love playing those 3-team parlays. There's so much to bet on. College basketball heating up right now. Football, NFL obviously starting to wind down. NBA hitting up. NHL, college football, custom props, even esports. You name it, mybookie.ag has it. MyBookie is one bet we know that you'll be happy with all year. I personally recommend these guys because I really trust them. MyBookie has been in business for years. They've got great online reviews, and their mobile site is very, very, very easy to use. Sign up this week, and MyBookie will give you a 50% deposit bonus to jumpstart your bankroll, and that's a great way to bank even more money when you win. Also, and this is very important, make sure you follow MyBookie on Twitter at BetMyBookie. They personally respond to every mention and every direct message that they receive, not to mention that they've given away more than $10,000 in free money to their followers this football season. So you'll be the first to know as soon as new odds and props are posted as well. So make sure you get on the Twitter machine if you're already on there and follow them at BetMyBookie. And hey, let them know you heard about them on the Terrible Podcast. That'll help us on this end as well too. So don't miss out on the best weeks to come to bet on sports this year. Log on to MyBookie right now at mybookie.ag and use promo code TERRIBLE, or as Charles Barkley would say, terrible, and to get your 50% deposit bonus. That's promo code TERRIBLE. You play, you win, you get paid. All right, what else? What else we got on this? The Chargers might be without. Sounds like they're going to be without Melvin Gordon. For this one with an MCL injury. Phillip Rivers just went. How many did Phillip Rivers?
25.
25 yep. In a row. I mean, yeah, I get it. It was just the Cardinals, but there's some decent defenders though. Patrick Peterson and all over there as well too. Are you surprised? I mean, this is pretty much home field advantage. I guess the typical 3 points. So I guess we shouldn't be crazy surprised the Steelers are favored in this one. I think this line's going to close. Probably maybe Steelers by 1 by the time kickoff rolls around. Right now, are you at all nervous? I'm sure the answer is going to be yes.
It's always yes, Dave. And obviously not having Melvin Gordon, not having them have Melvin Gordon, is a big hope for the Steelers. But you got a lot of weapons. You got vertical threats, great receiver in Keenan Allen, Tyra Williams. Mike Williams is a matchup headache to deal with as a number 3 kind of guy. So yeah, I'm always going to be nervous about this one.
Leave the people with one final stat here. Third down efficiency from that game from the Steelers Broncos. Steelers 5 of 14 for 36%. Got to do a little bit better than that. Obviously on third downs there. The Broncos, however, not as good on third down. 3 of 11, 27%. So outside. I keep going back, and I'm going to probably complain about this one more time before the week's over, before we're done talking about this game. But that third and 5 situation there on that pass to Booker, that 2 plays later touchdown followed, really bothers me in that situation. So we'll see if the Steelers can get back on track Sunday night against the Chargers. We'll, of course, have a beat writer on Wednesday. Alex and I will give our final thoughts on what happened during the Broncos game. I don't see how we're going to have much more crazy, enlightening analysis on that. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex Kozora on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Always looking to get feedback on what we can do better on the show here. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.